Hello, and welcome to another edition of A Successful Transition from Monogamy to Open. I'm still trying to delete the last edition of this because it didn't end quite right. So we were going to try this again. We're continuing our series on barriers to success, about talking about ingrained sexual beliefs and the importance that is when you start to make that transition to some sort of open relationship. Last time we talked about the war on men's sexuality and how it can affect men with the whole sex addiction myth. Well, sometimes women get caught in that. More often, that is not where we get caught up in. Women's sexuality has been under attack for probably as long as there's been recorded history. So this is nothing new, because the people who are trying to be in control, whether it's society at large, the various organized religions, even just anybody who wants to be in control of society, often goes after women's sexuality. It's a very easy target for those who want to control the masses. And much of the stuff in recent time really comes down to the form of the two options that oftentimes women grow up learning that we can be. And that's either a good girl or a bad girl. And this good girl, bad girl dichotomy is very powerful and often extremely detrimental to women's sexuality and their sense of comfort with their own sexual self. Oftentimes when women are very young, we're taught to shut down any sexual feeling. Long before adulthood, little girls, when they're caught masturbating and rubbing their genitals, often have their hands slapped, are told, don't touch yourself there, that's dirty, that's disgusting, don't do that, good girls don't do that. And it has a very strong effect on little girls because there's this overall societal belief that little girls are basically asexual, that they're not supposed to think about it. Not that it's necessarily true, but so many young women get taught that and take that on and work very hard at not thinking about it, not ever going there. Oh, I've got to be a good girl. Good girls don't do that. And it goes into adulthood when then they get into a committed, loving relationship, they go to get married, and suddenly now it's like they're supposed to magically turn it back on. It's never been, they've never really had a chance to allow it to be on and explore it and see what it feels like. And now magically they're supposed to turn it back on because they're in a relationship. And so it's no wonder that women often have so much difficulty with their sexual desire, with their ability to have orgasm, and even a lot of times their basic sexual functioning, because when they're raised with this tamping down of all of the sexual feelings, you can't just magically turn that back on. They don't even know how anymore at that point. And even in cases where it's not that severe, if that, for many women, that isn't necessarily, it wasn't quite that bad for them growing up, there still is this level of insecurity, of doubt, and wondering, whatever we say, whatever we do, however we dress, what are our parents going to say? What are our friends going to say? What are society at large going to say? And more importantly, what are our partners going to say? Sometimes they like it, and then they will turn on a dime and use it against us. And what do they expect from us? And this is a very heavy burden for women to bear. It's no wonder that so many women have no answer when they're asked by their partners what they like sexually, what they want sexually, what they fantasize about sexually. Sometimes they just don't even know because they've never allowed themselves to go there. And even the ones who do know, who do fantasize, who do know what they want, we never know what answer is going to be considered acceptable to the person asking us that. We never know if we're going to be called a slut or a whore or accused of being too promiscuous. And most women will admit that somewhere along the line, somewhere they're dated, wanted to know, but then when they got the answer, wasn't happy about it. Because, oh, where'd you learn how to do that? And who taught you that? And who have you been sleeping with? And it goes on and on. No wonder we don't talk about it. No wonder we don't want to talk about it, because we don't know how we're going to be judged. And this is very important when you start thinking about opening up your relationship dynamics and starting to have an open relationship, because these ingrained sexual beliefs and messages are just below the surface, and it's as equally important for either gender to be thinking about this, not only how they affect you and your gender, but how does it affect your partner if they're a different gender, and how do your ingrained sexual beliefs about the way men or women are supposed to be according to whatever beliefs you were taught, and how do you accidentally use that against them? We often do that with our partners, and then we wonder why they shut down. Yeah, I have been at swing clubs and seen people who I know are very active within the swing community. And yet they'll say things like, well, at least we're not as promiscuous as other people, as if somehow they're in a position to judge how much swinging is okay, how many sexual partners when you're a swinger is considered okay, and how many is, oh, that's too much. It's that same kind of mentality that affects people, and those little social things that you can say that are going to cause a big difference in how people react to you. So it's a very important thing to think about. We have one more edition of this that we will talk about on Thursday. And so I really want you thinking about it. If you haven't been journaling, writing down some of the things that are coming up for you in these videos, please do take that piece of paper on the left side, write down some of the things that have been coming up for you, and some of those ingrained beliefs that you've learned throughout your lives, so that you're more aware of it and you can really start to pay attention, because that's how you're going to have a positive effect on this. So that's all for today. I will see you on Thursday when we'll finish up the barriers on ingrained sexual beliefs. And until then, thanks for joining me, and I will see you then. Bye.